find y'all partner. Keep y'all standards high, okay? And if it's someone that's showing red flags, just leave, okay? Period. I don't care. It could be the smallest red flag. You are not meant to fix them. Walk away. Because when I tell you, my husband didn't have red flags. He had red flags to other people. But to me, I knew they were not red flags for me.
Hello there. Porsha's recent remarks about her husband Simon being devoid of any warning signs are simply bewildering. In case you're not up to speed with the latest developments, Porsha's spouse, Nigerian businessman Simon, has quite the extensive history of legal troubles. And let me tell you, the entire saga is akin to a multi-part series straight out of TikTok. Who on earth did I marry, darling? I'll delve into his recent legal issues shortly, but before that, let me paint you a picture of how this man has been a constant fabricator, a serial philanderer, and undeniably, a walking embodiment of warning signs for years. Can you believe that Simon resorted to using a fictitious public relations firm to fabricate his net worth? Essentially, this firm would publish any information provided as long as the fee was paid. So Simon utilized this firm to inflate his net worth, making it seem as though it was validated by the firm after scrutinizing his financial records. Furthermore, it has come to light that Simon's business website was nothing more than a rudimentary template, devoid of any substantial description of his professional endeavors. His purported businesses are nothing but a facade. And before you pick your jaw up from the floor, allow me to elucidate on a few more revelations that haven't even surfaced in the recent legal documents. By 2021, reports suggested that Simon had accumulated 21 liens, 9 judgments, and had taken out 2 loans from PNC Bank, purportedly for his 2 Rolls-Royces. Allegedly, he owed a substantial amount in back taxes to the IRS and had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy multiple times, including one instance in 2014 when his businesses collapsed under a debt of $3.8 million. In 2021, there were murmurs about him potentially filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy once again, this time for his restaurants and clubs under the Simons brand. And let me clarify, nobody went to extraordinary lengths to unearth this information, as all these details are readily accessible through a diligent search of public records on the individual. Let's be brutally honest here, folks. Did Porsha genuinely have no inkling about any of these issues, especially when she was adamantly asserting that her husband displayed no red flags? Are we expected to believe that she was completely oblivious to his myriad of problems? Given the circumstances surrounding their relationship and the numerous inconsistencies that have raised eyebrows among many, it's hardly surprising that Porsha ended up tying the knot with this individual. Let's rewind a bit. Simon and his former spouse, Phelan Pina, publicly announced their separation in April 2021, and the very next month, he and Porsha revealed their engagement. However, what many aren't aware of is that Porsha and Simon had been involved romantically since at least September 2020, and Porsha wasn't the sole object of his affection. Around the time of their engagement announcement, a certain Jessica Harris came forward to the Jasmine brand, alleging that she had also been romantically involved with Simon since meeting him in March 2021. Jessica claimed that through numerous text exchanges, Simon expressed a desire to deepen their connection, insinuating the possibility of a future together once his divorce was finalized, only for her to discover his engagement to Porsha. How did you manage to find love while you were busy whisking me around in that Ferrari, zooming at 100 miles per hour with hair flying everywhere, making me look absolutely disheveled in these photos? How do you pull that off? Despite Jessica facing considerable criticism at the time, I must admit she genuinely attempted to alert others to Simon's true nature, or rather, his lack thereof. It was like a revelation, you know, you're there, live on camera, talking about your wife, accusing her of infidelity, drug use, which I can address later, and all sorts of things while you're engaging in the same behavior. It's like you're a hypocrite and a fraud, and that doesn't sit right with me. Let's circle back to those warning signs.
How'd you find love while you're over here whipping me around in that Ferrari going 100 miles an hour? And hair all over the place, got me looking crazy on these pictures. How you do that?
Back in 2022, Porsha boasted about Simon gifting her a $300,000 car. She even posted pictures on Instagram, posing next to the vehicle adorned with an orange interior and a large red bow on the hood.
All it was just like, you're a fraud. We're watching you on your live, talking about your wife, how she cheated, she does drugs, which I can address that later. And you're in all this kind of stuff when you're doing the same thing. You know, it's like you're a hypocrite and you're a fraud.
But it didn't take long for fans to recall that in August 2020, Simon's ex-wife, Phelan, had shared an Instagram photo of herself posing next to a Rolls-Royce with a matching orange interior. So the question arose, did Simon give Porsha the same car he gave Phelan? Well, despite Simon's denial of such claims, it still raised eyebrows that he gifted them both the same car with identical interiors. And let's not forget, these are the same cars that had issues with loans from PNC Bank in 2021. Oh, but there's more. I'm telling you, this man is a con artist through and through. There's a plethora of information indicating discrepancies in his businesses, his estates, the private jets, and numerous other things he's falsified and splurged on to portray himself as a millionaire. Now, on to the recent court documents that once again lay bare Simon's deceitful ways. Note that his criminal activities trace back to 1982, when Simon first entered the country on a visitor's visa, only to voluntarily depart in 1985, following multiple run-ins with the police involving credit card fraud. Let me tell you, this man had quite the rap sheet with law enforcement in the US. By August 1982, he had overstayed his visa. In September 1987, he pleaded guilty to bank and credit card fraud, a felony offense. In January 1989, he was arrested for unauthorized use of a vehicle, and in 1990, he faced charges of identity fraud. In 1991, after overstaying his visa once more, he found himself in trouble with the law again, resulting in an order for deportation. The following year, he was physically removed from the United States. Let's just say Simon was relentless in his desire to remain in the US, resorting to deceit to re-enter under a different identity. Utilizing the Special Agricultural Worker SAW program, Simon's temporary resident status transitioned to permanent resident status after the requisite waiting period, all the while evading detection by immigration authorities. However, court documents reveal that he achieved this by falsifying his application, claiming he had never been arrested and had a clean record. These deceptions came to light during Simon's application for U.S. citizenship, an application that had been denied not once but twice before. Initially in 2016, Simon's attempt at naturalization was rebuffed due to his unlawfully obtained permanent resident status. Subsequently, he filed another application in 2020, only to face rejection once more for not having been lawfully admitted for permanent residence. Deterred, Simon filed yet another petition in 2023, seeking to challenge the denial and secure U.S. citizenship. However, on January 11th of this year, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services was granted authority to dismiss the case. Another notable aspect highlighted in the court documents was the fraudulent nature of Simon's marriages. He stands accused of entering into sham marriages to prolong his stay in the country, a fact exposed by his former spouse who attested they never cohabited or consummated the marriage. Essentially, the court documents meticulously delineate how Simon 1. Applied for SAW benefits under an assumed identity 2, misrepresented his marital status 3, inaccurately answered no. Regarding prior arrests or convictions 4, falsely denied any factual basis for inadmissibility due to his criminal record, and 5, provided incorrect information regarding his last entry into the United States. Based on these findings, the court concluded that Simon's permanent residency, crucial for his naturalization application, was obtained through deceitful means concerning his identity, criminal record, and other personal details. Consequently, his permanent resident status is deemed unlawful for the purpose of granting naturalization. Devoid of lawful permanent residency status, Simon's petition fails to meet the eligibility criteria for naturalization. Given his extensive history of deception spanning over 2 decades, Simon is likely facing deportation once again. It's essentially the endgame for him, but what ramifications does this hold for Porsha? Interestingly, Simon addressed his citizenship struggles by portraying a facade of normalcy in a selfie shared on Instagram. However, Porsha likely acknowledges the impending investigation and potential deportation risk for Simon, possibly prompting her decision to rejoin ROCA. It appears that Porsha needs a separate source of income apart from Simon's, considering the uncertainty surrounding his legal status. One thing is certain: they are bound to stir up considerable drama on Real Housewives of Atlanta, given Simon's turbulent past. As for Porsha's future alongside Simon post-exposure, it remains to be seen. What are your thoughts on Simon's unraveling? Did Porsha truly remain oblivious to these publicly available details? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section below. Thank you for tuning in.